Is Max now going to leave the sport in the wake of this? I'll tell you one thing from my perspective. I think we've spoken about it a lot, but retirement is just never seemed the right thing in my eyes for Max to do, because I feel that he's got so much more he can accomplish in F1. Not that he really needs to, but that I think he can. But I do think a hiatus all of a sudden looks way more viable than I actually had considered before now, because GP is leaving. Do you agree with this sentiment?
I do. I think that's more likely. Give him the option to return. I think it's a wise thing to do. You know, if you're unhappy with the position that you're in, the area that you're working, and the job that you're doing, then you look for another job. In layman's terms, and he's got one in GT racing. He can go and have fun. He can live at home. He can jump in a car, drive to a circuit, compete, win, more than likely, jump in a car and go home and be with his family. He can sell the private jet. He can forget about all the testing that he's required to do, all the media commitments that he doesn't like doing. He's got it on his terms. It's not about money. It's about the enjoyment that he gets from the sport. And if he gets that enjoyment in GT racing, then he'll go and do that. And it makes sense to go and do that. Why would you stick at something that you're really not enjoying? I don't understand. He's got total freedom, can do what he wants. He can give up if he wants, but I don't think he will. I think he will use that sabbatical and go and do some different things.
This is a theoretical sabbatical at this point. I will very much clarify before we get.
These are all theories. Yes, I mean, look, I think he's the only one that can make the decision. But I think we've heard him over the last couple of years, in actual fact, speak very honestly, to his credit, about how he's sort of disillusioned with the way that Formula One's going. I hope that people are listening to him, because it would be a shame for him to leave Formula One. But then again, if he's not happy, he can force the situation himself as well.
Let's look at the other potential from this, because I think, crazily, I can't imagine Max in other overalls at this point, because I've never seen him in other overalls. Toro Rosso, but it's basically a darker Red Bull suit at the time. But going to the potential outcome of this, if he wasn't going for a hiatus, a sabbatical or anything, could he actually follow GP and leapfrog Mika Hakkinen in his sabbatical and go back to McLaren? Is that the question we've got here? Because that surely is the logical conclusion to some people that, well, if GP's going to McLaren, then those two will go hand in hand. Could Max Verstappen end up going there himself in 2028? I don't know the contract situation, by the way, on Piastri or Norris, but hypothetically, Ben, is that a likely possibility?
Look, drivers just want to be in the quickest car. We don't know who's going to have the quickest car in 28, 27. We still don't know who's going to win the title this year, Jim, do we? So, if he wins the title with Red Bull, it's more likely he'll stay. We could be talking out of turn. Orange or papaya fits in, doesn't it? Quite well with the Dutchman, and the orange colour. So, you have to say that would look good. But realistically, I don't know. I mean, look, we can speculate, but we don't know for sure. World champions, want to be in that quickest car. If McLaren can deliver him that quickest car, and he's available, and they can afford him, and he likes Formula One at that point, then sure. But then Mercedes is an option. Aston Martin maybe by then. So who knows? But as I say, it boils down to the fact of the enjoyment that he's getting from competing in the sport. It was the same reason that Fernando Alonso decided to do what he wanted to do and go and try some different categories. And I think that there's a lot to be said in that. If Max wants to go and try something else, go and do it.
If you like listening to relatively old, relatively grumpy men talk the truth, and rather than go into full-on speculation and think, oh, Max at McLaren, do subscribe, because we are trying to keep things a bit more level-headed for the most part here. I think we do a decent enough job. But comment below what you think. Where could Max go? Will he go? Will he stay? I would love to know, and we will, as you've seen before, go through all of your comments.